So why can't we solve or stop tough leaks? It's the age-old question. I have quite a few reasons why it's very difficult. One, the leak could be dormant, meaning it's not flowing all the time. It's intermittent. Sometimes it'll leak and sometimes it won't. It depends on the situation. It could be an appliance that only runs once a week, or it could be a rainstorm that occurs only once a month. Two, there could be multiple sources of water getting into the leak location. And sources of water could mean penetration points. Water could be entering the building, or I'm going to eventually show you what I call the black box that makes it tough to find, but through an area or a layer that's very difficult to directly observe or test, and then it erupts in the same spot. So multiple inflows of water can erupt at the same spot. Three, the real fundamental problem with contractors is that they typically are relying on their visual inspection. And a visual inspection is them getting out and looking at what was done. And this could be even looking at the construction methodology. But visual inspections do not work when you're dealing with water 75 to 80% of the time. Now, there are certain situations where they do, but oftentimes you will still, unfortunately, miss an important dynamic when it comes to how water is behaving. The fourth reason is leaks have a complex architectural path. And this simply means that water can be traveling through, across, and around things in such a unique way that it is hard to actually track that directly to the source. It's just with the nature of water, it can travel horizontally, it can travel vertically. Mostly it goes down, and occasionally it seems like it goes up. And in fact, it can. But it's not the bulk water that flows up. It's usually some kind of cohesive force where it's being absorbed into the structure. And it can travel high. It can travel upwards of 3 feet in some cases. 6, if you're missing the tough leak, you may not be understanding the fundamentals of drainage. And drainage is an engineering field of how water drains from, let's just say, point A to point B. How water does it flow across the site? How does water flow across a building? But anyway, once you kind of get the fundamentals of how water works, it's a lot easier to analyze many unique situations. 7, an inaccessible source, meaning you can't even ever directly observe the water source without doing extremely difficult construction or digging or excavating. And a good example of this is if you have a concrete slab and there's a water pipe going through it, and all you know is that there's effects from this. Maybe there's cracking or settling or something occurring nearby, and you're indirectly trying to figure out where did that water come from. 8, if you don't do water testing, going back with the previous visual inspection, if you're not doing that, you're just not going to be able to stop and solve tough leaks. You just have to eventually be able to do and perform water testing and do it efficiently and effectively without damaging things. 9, you're not taking enough time. Water takes time, and typically it takes 1 to 2 hours to do most water leak inspections and investigations. If you have multiple leaks or very, very complex leaks, it could take some time longer than that. But most of my jobs are in that time frame. I'd say the bulk of them, 95% of them. 10, you might be using the wrong technology. There are some good tools out there. They don't cost much. And for those that use infrared cameras and rely on them, I think you're over dependent on that technology. And most of the time, a visual inspection will reveal exactly what the infrared camera is going to tell you. The moisture meter is far more effective than the infrared camera, even finding indirect water sources. So a moisture meter, we'll go over this in the slideshow, but those are the kind of technology issues that you really need to understand if you're going to find water leaks, and don't rely on the wrong technology. And then 11, finally, you're using the wrong technique. And because water finding and leak solving is really a technique or a process. And whatever you're doing, if you're not finding them, then it's the wrong technique, basically. Because I think the technique I've come up with is it's bulletproof. It's foolproof. It'll get the job done. So we're going to cover